Alrighty. Alrighty, let me try to see everybody. This is the chat. Okay. Admit all. Alrighty. Just somebody tell me, could you hear me? Indicate with some thumbs up if you could hear me. Nobody could, you can hear me. Okay, Talia, you could hear me. Menucha, you could hear me. Okay, so some people can hear me. Okay, great. All right. There's just going to be a minute or two. Okay. All right. Now, I don't know why. Could somebody explain to me why I have to keep admitting people? Why can't people just come into a Zoom meeting by themselves? I keep on having on the top right, one person is waiting and I have to admit them all the time. I don't know. Okay. It's okay. I don't know. Admit. I'll admit them. I'll just admit them as we go along. Admit. I'm admitting more people. Okay. Okay. I think we have one more minute and then we'll start. Oh, hey, there you go. Hey, Jackie and Yalpessin. Where's the social distancing? What's going on? You guys are too close. Yeah, you better stay apart. Okay. Here we go. All right. There's a minute or two. Hey, Menucha, how are you? Hi, Rosner. Oh, that's a nice background. Very cool. Very nice. Hey, Tsuri, how are you? Are people acting like savages yet on the public transportation system?
Some of us have to work.
Oh, yeah. I'm not working. Right. Yeah, I'm not. This is work, man. Oh, here's Sharon. Okay. Admit all. Sharon, I still have to admit people one at a time. I don't know why that is, but we're doing that. Okay, we're just gonna wait one. Hi, Lizzie, how are you? We're just doing things one at. Dickel, is that you, Dickel? How are you?
How you doing?
Okay. Hey, Elliot. Okay. Some people I could see, some people I can't.
Hi, Tzvi.
Hey, how are you? Sharon, it still has this thing that I have to admit people one at a time for some reason.
Chi, do you know how to make it so that people don't?
Nobody knows how. But, okay, we're waiting a second or two, and then we'll see what we'll do. Okay. Oh. Baja, how are you? Okay. Hey, Abby. How are you? Okay. Oh, Sruli. Where are you? Wait, who is that? 1 second. Okay. Now, I think we'll start. We waited 1 minute. Is that okay? See, I don't know if any of you knows how to automatically admit people to this thing. I will be happy to know how. Okay, here we go. If any of you knows how to admit people automatically, please tell me in the group, because otherwise I'm just the whole time admitting people one at a time.
Wait, Rev, before we start, I have a quick question.
Yes, please ask your question.
It's really out with this wallpaper stuff.
Surely you are ridiculous. Is there a way to turn off your picture?
Bro, I got you. I'll take it off.
Rev, I have a great picture to use. It's you in the army, but like it's not letting me download it.
I see.
Okay,
here we go. Today our shir is going to be about Taanit Bechorot, and a few people asked me on WhatsApp, if you are a Bechor and you want to not fast on Erev Pesach this year, generally we go to a siyum, and the question is there a way to go to a siyum on Zoom and therefore not have to fast? So that's a good question, and I guess everybody's concerned because, chas v'shalom, you're going to miss eating a little bit, especially Erev Pesach. So we're going to see how this whole thing came about and what is the whole issue of fasting at all for Taanit Bechorot, and then, we'll figure out the whole thing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with the Shulchan Aruch. Now, I couldn't make a paper this time, because of coronavirus. We'll blame that. So, I'm going to just read you the sources, and that's going to be fine. Here we go. I'm admitting people left and right, so there you go. Okay, we start with the Shulchan Aruch, and here in Siman Taf Ayin, that is where the Shulchan Aruch says that you have Bechorot mitanin be'erev Pesach. Firstborns fast on Erev Pesach. It says, HaBechorot mitanin be'erev Pesach. The Shulchan Aruch writes here in Seif number 1, Bein Bechor Me'av, Bein Bechor Me'em. Whether you are a Bechor, a firstborn on your mother's side or your father's side, in case of, that you weren't the first marriage of them. And then he continues, V'yesh mi she'omer she'afilu nekeva bechora mitana. And some people say that even if it's a firstborn girl, she's got to fast. That is the Shulchan Aruch. However, if you look in the Rema over there, the Rema says, Ve'en ha-minhag ken, but that's not the minhag, not for girls, only for boys. And that is the Shulchan Aruch. So he says that there is such a thing as the Taanit. Now, why do we have this Taanit? He doesn't really say why. But let's look maybe in the Mishnah Berurah he's going to say, and we'll find the Mishnah Berurah over here. The Mishnah Berurah he says that the reason is, I have to find it over here. Let's see, the Mishnah Berurah says, because we are remembering the miracle that the firstborns weren't killed by Hashem along with all of the Egyptian firstborns. Hi, Kinamon. All right, so that's the Shulchan Aruch, but now we're going to have to figure out where the Shulchan Aruch got it from, because this is not found in the Gemara anywhere. So let's see, the earliest source for a Taanit Bechorot is going to be from this book, and this is Masechet Sofrim. Here, I'm going to admit more people. Now, Masechet Sofrim, in chapter 21 of Masechet Sofrim, for those of you who do not know, Masechet Sofrim is one of the Masechtot Ktanot. The Masechtot Ktanot are things that didn't make it into the Gemara, but they were compiled soon after the Gemara times in the Masechtot Ktanot in the early Gaonic Savaraic period. And here is a discussion in Masechet Sofrim, chapter 21. It's either halacha Aleph, Bet, or Gimel, depending on which version you have of Masechet Sofrim. And here they have a discussion about the original way in which Taanit Esther was done. Now, if you ever looked into how Taanit Esther works, you know that Taanit Esther actually took place when Esther asked all of the Jewish people to fast. That took place in Nisan. And therefore, Masechet Sofrim asks, if the real Taanit Esther, when Esther asked the Jewish people to fast, took place in Nisan, why don't we fast in Nisan? And the Gemara explains, hey, Sammy Bitterman, look at you. How are you, buddy? I haven't seen you in a long time, man. You look good. All right. So he says like this, we do not say Tachanun all of Nisan. And we do not fast all of Nisan ad shi'avor Nisan. So again, they're explaining why don't we do Taanit Esther in Nisan when it originally took place, when Esther told Mordechai to fast. They said because you don't say Tachanun in Nisan and you don't fast in Nisan. Now, why don't you? Because they say here that Nisan is a special good time. Why is it a special good time? Because the first of Nisan is when the Mishkan was set up. And then the 12 Nisi'im each brought gifts for the first 12 days of Nisan. So therefore, what happened was those are also special days. And then you have Pesach. And there's a rule that if more than half of the days in a month are special, then that month becomes a special month, and it is a no Tachanun month. And it's a no Tachanun month, and it's a no fast day month either. Well, if it's a no fast day month, no one should be fasting. And therefore, Masechet Sofrim continues, Ela ha-Bechorot, except for the firstborns, they fast on Erev Pesach. That's one category of people who is an exception and they do fast. And Hatznuim, tzniistic people also fast. Now, what does that even mean? Bishvil hamatzah. They also fast because of matzah. It says, Kedei sheyikansu ba betava. They fast on Erev Pesach So they will go in hungry on Pesach and they will eat the matzah with gusto. Okay, now one second. I'm going to go to this thing. The computer had a little glitch. Now I'm back. And it says as follows. Okay, good. So Masechet Sofrim is the earliest source for a Taanit Bechorot at all. Let us look for a moment in, hey Sharon.
We're trying to figure out.
I don't know. It's fine. I'm just going on anyway.
Okay.
Now I'm going to read you something from, here we go. This is from the Yerushalmi. Now let's follow along in this discussion in the Yerushalmi, even though they said, in Masechet Sofrim, they said that there is a Taanit Bechorot. Now let's read, this is from the Yerushalmi, the very beginning of Arvei Psachim. And I'll read it like this. Look, it starts as follows. Ha'ochel matzah be'erev Pesach. If you eat matzah on Erev Pesach, keba ala rusato. It's like you're sleeping with the girl you're engaged with, bebeit chamiv, in your father-in-law's house. So that's nasty, right? You don't want to be doing that. And therefore, and the Mefarshim explains why is it like that? Because shekarov yom moed hanisuin, because you can't wait till you're going to get married. You can't hold on a little bit. So therefore, you're not supposed to eat matzah on Erev Pesach. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that they have extended those rules. Like some people say, you don't eat matzah for Rosh Chodesh Nisan, or you don't eat matzah for 30 days before Pesach. I'm sure you've heard about this, various versions of this same concept. So here the Gemara in the Yerushalmi says, it's really just Erev Pesach. Don't eat matzah on Erev Pesach. Wait for it. Now it says, Tane Rav Yehuda ben Betera Omer. Now Rav Yehuda ben Betera says, Ben chametz, ben matzah asor. You can't eat not matzah Erev Pesach and not chametz either. Rabbi Simon b'shem Rav Yehuda, Rav Yeshua ben Levi, it says, Lo hayalchel lo chametz v'lo matzah. He wouldn't eat matzah or chametz on Erev Pesach. It says, they say, why didn't he do it? Because, he was told, and they say, wait a second, but he wasn't a Talmud of these Rebbeim who said not to eat matzah or not to eat chametz. So why did he do it? He says he wasn't a Talmud of either of them. Ella begin to have a bechor. The Gemara therefore says, oh, it must be, maybe he didn't eat on Erev Pesach matzah or chametz because he was a bechor. Amar Rav Mana, Rav Yona Abba have a bechor. But then Rav Mana points out that Rav Yona was a bechor, v'have achil. So he says, don't give me that bechor business, because I know a bechor, and he did eat Erev Pesach. Amar Rav Tanchuma, lo min hada. That's not the reason. It's not because he was a bechor, rather because he was an istanis. And we know what is an istanis. An istanis is somebody who is very, let's call it fussy. Someone, my wife is calling from the other room, it's a fine schmecker. Right? So someone who if they eat a little bit, then they can't, because I'm inviting people. Okay. So he says the reason he didn't eat Erev Pesach was because he was an istanis, and if he would eat, then he wouldn't be able to eat the matzah with gusto. So now let's understand, what did the Yerushalmi here say? The conclusion of the Yerushalmi is what? They suggested that maybe the Rav that they were talking about didn't eat because he was a Bechor. But what did the Gemara ultimately conclude? That the real reason he didn't eat was why? Because he was an Istanis. Because if he would have eaten Erev Pesach, then he wouldn't have any appetite at the Seder. So we now see that if you look carefully in the Yerushalmi, they suggested that maybe people who don't eat on Erev Pesach didn't eat because they were Bechor. But then the Yerushalmi came back and said, no, but we know some Bechors who did eat. They say, yeah, you're right. The person who didn't eat, it was because he was an Istanis. And Istanis is the same thing we saw in Masechet Sofrim, that he was a Tsanua. In other words, these are special righteous people, a Tsanua, who wants to eat the matzah with a lot of gusto. Or here, people who have, they don't have the ability to eat a lot, so they have to not eat even before Pesach. So what we now see is that according to the Yerushalmi, they suggested that Bechors do not eat before Pesach, but they rejected that idea. Now, the similar parallel discussion happens in the Bavli as well. Now, if you look in the Bavli, on Daf Kuf Chet Amud Aleph, so let me just open Daf Kuf Chet Amud Aleph in my own version. Here we go. Kuf Chet Amud Aleph. Here, one second, Natty. I just want to admit this guy, and then you know how to fix it.
I think.
Well, don't mute me. Don't mute me by mistake. Okay. See, it's very close, those buttons. But anyway, you'll figure it out. I'm going to continue talking. But in Arvei Psachim Kuf Chet Amud Aleph, they have a very, very similar discussion, and they talk about Rav Sheshet, that he wouldn't eat before Pesach, on Erev Pesach. And here it says, what is the reason that Rav Sheshet didn't eat? Thank you, Nettie. What is the reason that Rav Sheshet didn't eat before Pesach? It says, Shane Rav Sheshet. Rav Sheshet is a special guy. De Istanis Have, he was an Istanis, so he couldn't handle eating a lot. De Ita'im Batsafra, if he would eat something in the morning, midday, anything, Le'urta, in the evening, Lo Have Mahane Le Mechla, he couldn't eat in the evening. So the entire discussion in the Bavli also talks about why didn't Rav Sheshet eat on Erev Pesach, but the Bavli gives the answer of Istanis, and the Bavli never even suggested the idea of a Bechor. The Yerushalmi suggested maybe he didn't eat because he was a Bechor and rejected it. The Bavli didn't even bring it up. In other words, what do we now see, my friends? That in the Bavli, they never even mention at all the possibility of a concept of Taanit Bechorot. So let's summarize what we've seen already. Masechet Sofrim says there is such a thing as Taanit Bechorot. The Yerushalmi says, they said maybe there is such a thing, and that's the reason why that guy fasted. No, because they know of other Bechors that would eat. The guy, he didn't eat because he was in Istanis. The Bavli doesn't even suggest the Bechor thing and goes straight to the Istanis answer. If you look in Tosfot, however, Tosfot there, Rav Sheshet on Kuf Chet Amud Aleph says, they add, V'ha Bechorot nahaguli tanot Erev Pesach. Tosfot says, Bechorot fast on Erev Pesach, as it says in Masechet Sofrim. So now what do we have over here? It seems that there was a minhag, but this minhag was in conflict. The Bavli never heard of it. Masechet Sofrim says yes, and the Yerushalmi rejected it. Now, with all of these things, we now say, wait a second. So what are we supposed to do with this minhag that's completely in conflict? And also we have to wonder, why is it that it got so popular by now? So let's walk a few more stages. Now here the Ra'avya, one of the Rishonim, the Ra'avya, in Siman Taf Chuf Chaf Hey, he writes, Mashma de Palig Yerushalmi Amasechet Sofrim. If you read it carefully, the way we did, you see that the Yerushalmi opposes what Masechet Sofrim says. And therefore the Yerushalmi says, Bechorot, don't even fast. Similarly, the Meiri, he writes, the Talmud, he writes in Masechet Sofrim, it says that you are supposed to fast if you're a Bechor. And he adds like this, look what the Meiri says, V'chen nohagin biktsat mekomot. And this is the minhag in a few places. Ktsat is really a few. It wasn't a major minhag by the Meiri's time, which is the 1300s. He says they do it in some places in Ashkenaz and Sarfat. Holy moly. So we see originally that who was doing this fast in Ashkenaz and Sarfat. Now, Ashkenaz and Sarfat, those are Ashkenazim. Let me ask the audience over here. All of you Sephardi people in the audience, do you guys do Taanit Bechorot, Sephardi people? You could say in the chat. I don't know. Are there any Sephardim? I don't know if there's Sephardim participating in them today.
Why is this?
What? There's Orel, you do it? You do it?
Sephardi.
Yeah, give me a thumbs up. Okay. So, but originally, you see, Orel, who did it? Only Ashkenazim. And I'll tell you why. Because there is a long-running discussion that things in Masechet Sofrim had a very big influence on Ashkenazim in particular. So if you see something to do in Masechet Sofrim, it entered normative Jewish people through the Ashkenazim. Okay, however, the Meiri ends with a great line. Look what he says. Ve'ein ba srach hechreach klal. There is no srach. A srach is like a connection or a string. Hechreach, like to have to do it, klal, at all. He says you don't really have to do it. So I want you now to understand that the Taanit Bechorot started off as a fairly, let's call it a fairly weak minhag. Now, we have to talk about the next steps, and this is going to be, I want to read you something from the Mordechai. Let me just find this Mordechai, put it in it's in the back of your Gemara over here. Now, the Mordechai writes, in the name of Rabbeinu Yechiel, listen to what he says. Rabbeinu Yechiel would say, Mutarin le'echol minei targima, that the Bechors are able to eat minei targima. Minei targima is the Talmudic term for fruit and meat, like stuff that's not mezonot and not hamotzi. So you see that there is an opinion that the Bechorot, they don't gotta fast, they just gotta chill out on their meals, and all that they're allowed to do on Erev Pesach is to, let's call it, to snack. They're allowed to snack. That's what the Mordechai says. Now, on this whole discussion, the Big Day Yesha, which is a commentary to the Mordechai, says, but wait a second, it's either a fast or it's not a fast. If you got to fast, then you can't be eating. And if you don't have to fast, then you can eat whatever you want. Why do we have this kind of middle ground? But I'll tell you why. Because it's basically a weak kind of fast. And because it's weak, this is already one of the leniencies that developed regarding it. Now, I'll read you something from the Kolbo. The Kolbo is an early Ashkenazic work, and he writes as follows. Now, this is the Kolbo writes this in Hilchot Yom Tov, which is not even really about Pesach, but this is quoted by the Darkei Moshe, that's the Rema on the tour. Okay, now just, you got to listen to this because this is really a life-changing quote. Look what he writes. Nahagu lifdot ha-bechorot be'arvei psachim. He says, it is a custom to redeem the firstborns on Erev Pesach. Now, what's shocking about this? He doesn't even talk about a concept of firstborns fasting Erev Pesach. He straight jumps to, he says, you know what the minhag really is? He's a Rishon. To redeem the firstborns on Erev Pesach. Not to fast, firstborns just have to be redeemed. Now, does anybody know, how does a person redeem? How does one redeem? What does it mean? If you redeem, what is the mechanism by which you redeem? What do you want to say? Someone wants to say in the chat, how do you redeem? What do you think? What do you got to do? How do you redeem? Yes, give shkalim, pay, of course, give money. So now, what is this custom that he's saying? Firstborns have to give tzedakah on Erev Pesach. Now he's going to explain this minhag. He says, why? Because pada'am Hashem mimakat bechorim. Because Hashem redeemed us from being killed along with all the firstborns in Egypt. Okay? He says, Tam makat bechorim. Oh my gosh. And now he says, why is it that a Bechor has to fast any more than anybody else? Why was a Bechor in jeopardy on Erev Pesach more than anyone else? Because no one should have been in jeopardy. You know why no one should have been in jeopardy? Because what did Hashem tell the Jewish people to do? To, put blood around your door, and go in, and you're going to be safe. So who should have been safe? All Jewish people. So why would a Bechor have been in jeopardy? I mean, he's safe too. So look what he says. Tam makat bechorim lefi. He says this is the reason. Why did Hashem kill the firstborns in Egypt in the first place? What does Hashem have against firstborns? Why the firstborns? Now listen to what he says. Lefi shehayu komrei avodah zarah shalahem. The Kolbo says, because in Egypt, the firstborns were the priests of the Egyptians. In other words, the people who actually did the avodah zarah on behalf of the Egyptians were the firstborns. And this is similar to, do you remember, even the Jewish people themselves, you know how the Bechors were Kadosh, but then they lost it because of Chet HaEgel, and then the Levium took over? He says, in the olden days, also in Egypt, the firstborns were the avodah zarah people. Hayta avodah bechorot. And he says, ve'efshar sheharbe hayu mi bechorei Yisrael bizmanahu. And he says, based on Sefer Yechezkel writes, the Jewish people themselves did avodah zarah while they were in Egypt. And he says it could be that the firstborns of the Jewish people were also doing avodah zarah. And he says, Afal pichen hamakom chas alehem. But Hashem saved them anyway. So what did the Kolbo say over here? That the Jewish firstborns could have also been bad guys in Egypt because they were doing Avodah Zarah, possibly along with the Egyptian firstborns. So when Hashem killed the Egyptian firstborns, the idea was to kill all the Avodah Zarah priests. And the Jewish people were involved in Avodah Zarah too, at least according to Sefer Yechezkel. So therefore, the firstborns are in jeopardy. And what do the firstborns have to do? They have to redeem themselves. So now you see that one way, or an old way to get out of fasting is to redeem yourself and to give tzedakah. Oh, now I want to show you something that I found today, a sefer from Rav Henkin. Here it is on your screen. And Rav Henkin was asked about this, about Taanit Bechorot. And look what Rav Henkin answers. He writes as follows. Hinei kayadua Taanit Bechorim eino chiyuv midina de Gemara. You know that Taanit of the firstborns is not a chiyuv in the Gemara. We saw the Gemara doesn't say to do it. Masechet Sofrim did say. He says, Lifnim nahagubo, Rav Henkin is writing this. He lived in America about, I don't know what, let's say 60 years ago. He says, in the olden days, nahagubo, v'atachadlu, now we don't do it. Okay, im chadal minhago batel chiyuva. And if a minhag is canceled, we don't have to do it. And he says, therefore, mekilim b'chol tatzteke. We use any excuse to be lenient about the fast of the firstborns. And he says, and then he writes, lu haya chiyuv, but if it was a chiyuv to fast, ein hasiyum shalanu nechshav. Our siyum wouldn't help. Going to a siyum wouldn't help. You know why going to a siyum wouldn't help? Because he says a siyum doesn't get you out of a fast. The only thing that gets you out of a fast is the su'udat mitzvah of a siyum. But just to hear a siyum and go home, you weren't invited to the su'udas mitzvah, so a siyum itself doesn't help. There has to be a su'udat mitzvah. He says just hearing a siyum doesn't help, kevan she'en osin b'su'udat, unless you do a su'udah with it. He says, v'choli karo barak liftor min Taanit. And if you're only making a siyum to get yourself out of a fast, that shouldn't help. And therefore, what does he say you should do? Ra'ui, it's appropriate, shekol bechor yiten tzedakah lepidyon haTaanit. Every bechor should give tzedakah. That tzedakah bevadai poteret b'Taanit. And of course, tzedakah works to get you out of a Taanit, which is a minhag. Very good. So you see that, what does Rav Henkin say? The real way to get out of Taanit Bechorot every single year is to give tzedakah. So now, let's start like this. If somebody is saying, my gosh, I'm a firstborn, but because of all this coronavirus business, I cannot go to shul and I cannot hear a siyum, what should I do? Oh no. So let's do answer number one. First of all, it's not such a strong minhag anyway. But then someone's going to say, yeah, but the Shulchan Aruch says I'm supposed to do it. Okay, fair. So let me say, do what the Kolbo says to do, to give tzedakah. And you see even here that Rav Henkin says that the better thing to do every year, and it's a much more real way to get out of it, is to give tzedakah rather than hearing a siyum. Okay, but now we're going to say a further thing. But let's say you do want to have a siyum. Will a siyum over Zoom work well? So I'll tell you what I want to... so first I'll talk about this. Rav Asher Weiss was asked whether a person can fulfill their obligation to do Bikur Cholim by making a phone call. Can you call somebody up who's sick and say, hey, how are you doing? And that somehow works?
You sure can now.
You sure can now. That's what Sharon says. Yeah, otherwise there's just going to be more cholim. So he writes like this. Rav Asher Weiss writes in his sefer, Minhag Asher. This is on Parashat Vayera in Bereshit. He says, Nira pashut vadai ein mekayem mitzvah zo b'telephone. You cannot fulfill Bikur Cholim by calling somebody on the phone. Even though it's shayach lechazek rucho, even though you can strengthen somebody's spirits over the phone, but still it's not good for Bikur Cholim, because why? He says what you have to do with Bikur Cholim is there has to be some sort of face-to-face personal connection. But now look what he says next. Im yitpateach ha-television, but if television develops, l'shimush yichidim, so that individuals could make their own television, kmo ha-telephone, just like telephones. In other words, if we invent a video phone thing, if such a thing was invented, Rav Asher Weiss says, and you can then see the sick person, and you can talk to him, and you speak face to face, then bevadai it works as Bikur Cholim. So he writes that video phones can be used for Bikur Cholim. When he wrote this, it wasn't invented yet, but he says for sure you can do it now over a video or WhatsApp, FaceTime, all of those kinds of things. Now, based on that, it seems that over the phone is a lower level of connection, but if there's a video and you can see the other person, there's a higher level of connection. And now we talk about, can you join when did he write that? From Sarah to everyone. Okay, well, let me just do, okay, start with Orel. Why not just eat by the siyum? Orel, you are correct. The correct way to do it is you have a siyum, and then the guy doing the siyum says, you're all invited to the Seudat Mitzvah in the foyer where there's cake, right? And that's why they put some food there. That is the Seudat Mitzvah. So you're right, Orel, that's how the siyum actually works, by bringing food to shul, and that is the Seudat Mitzvah. And that's, I think, what people try to do today, yes? Okay, good. How much staka? Okay, that's a good question. Pidyon nafsho, the amount that you're worth, I think no one ever writes any particular amount of money, but, you know, let's say it's got to be, no one writes any particular amount of money. And anyway, what's your value? What, like that you'd be kidnapped? I don't know, maybe you're worth millions, who knows, yes? When did Rav Asher Weiss write that? That's a good question, but I think it was, you know, I think something like 10, 15, 20 years ago, something like that. According to Rav Henkin, if it's the Seudat Mitzvah you'd eat, why are you allowed to eat more after that Seudat Mitzvah? That's a good question, Suriel. The issue is because once the fast is over, there is no din of a fast, and therefore you just eat the rest of the day. That's the idea. Okay, now regarding regarding participating in a siyum. So I did find an answer that Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach was asked whether somebody could phone in to a siyum for Taanit Bechorot. And look what he answered. Here's the question. Ready? Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says, one time there was a Bechor, and he was in a place where he couldn't join a siyum. And he always would join a siyum. Now this year there's onus and he can't come. He can't come to it for whatever reason. Can he join a siyum on the phone? So the answer of Shlomo Auerbach says is bishat hadchak, in case of emergency, kigon da, like this scenario where the guy couldn't get to the siyum, shapir, it is good. Yachol lismoch, he can lismoch al tziruf. He can rely on a combination of factors to do a siyum over the phone. Now, when people said, so what's the combination of factors? In the footnote, they say, because A, Taanit Bechorot is only a minhag, and it's not really mentioned in the Gemara. And also, it seems to be that the Yerushalmi is even saying not to do it. And there's reasons not to fast in Nisan. So therefore, this whole fast is on a lower level, and therefore, Rav Shlomo Zalman says that in an emergency situation, you can do a siyum over the phone. Now, I'm going to say that based on what we saw in Rav Asher Weiss, that Rav Asher Weiss said you can't do Bikur Cholim over the phone, but you can do it in a video, because a video is a higher level of participation. If Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach is saying that you can even join a siyum over the phone in case of need, then obviously it would be a hiddur or a better way to do it over Zoom. Okay, let me see over here. If a Bechorot decides to give tzedakah, it's supposed to be the day of. It's supposed to be the day of. That's what you're asking. The same way a siyum has to be the day of. You can't even do a siyum. People discuss whether you could even do a siyum the night before and it should count. It's only once the fast kicks in. If the reason is because the Jewish firstborns are idolatrous priests, would that disconnect the fast in regards to female firstborns? Yeah, that's why the Maharil writes that female firstborns don't have to fast, and that became the Ashkenazic custom. The Kobo is Ashkenazic. That's why, they sort of moved away from female firstborns fasting. The bottom line is that female firstborns today don't fast. Because if you're Ashkenazic, the Ramah says not to do it. And if you're Sephardic, you're a Sephardic girl, and they basically hardly fast, as it stands, for normal fasts. So there you go. So if you're a girl, you're safe. Don't worry. Would a video chat like this apply only to a siyum or other mitzvot as well, like Havdalah? Okay, that's really a good question. Now, the thing is, Josh Levy, so I'll explain to you like this. Because, see, I'm getting good at this. I'm reading the chats, yeah? Okay, because my son fixed it that I don't have to invite participants all the time. But anyway, look, the idea of a siyum is that you're participating in a simcha. Now, participating in a simcha has to do with human being connections. Just like with Bikur Cholin, right? What makes the guy feel good is a human connection that he's feeling with somebody else, right? That's the idea. And that's what Rav Asher Weiss says. If he could see you, then you feel a human connection. Now, here, if with Havdalah or with reading the Megillah and all of those things, that's more like a technical thing that you have to hear certain words. And it's a big halachic question whether it counts as hearing if you're hearing words that have been turned into an electric impulse and then been regurgitated out of your computer. You're not really hearing my words, you're hearing all the, bits and bytes that have been turned into audio things and come out, right? So that's a complication. However, if it is only a matter of enjoying and having a simcha with someone, the idea is that the more participants there are in a siyum, the siyum giver is now happier that there's a big crowd, and that's you're joining in his simcha. So even if you're like over the phone or something, you're still joining. That's the concept, right? Josh, if that makes sense, yeah? Is that all right? Okay. And let's see what other people say.
Yes.
Yeah, is that good? Okay, fine. Okay. Oh, Mesameach Chasen V'Kala. That's fair. Yes, I would say that to Mesameach Chasen and Kala, that if you could do it over video, and that would actually make them happy, as opposed to being annoyed, like I'm in my wedding, why am I dealing with somebody over the phone? Okay, but if it actually does make them happy, maybe it does, then that would be. I'll tell you, Josh, true story. In the olden days, when I got married back in the 90s, the minhag was that people who could not attend your wedding, they would send a telegram. And the telegrams, a guy would come during the wedding and bring a few telegrams, and like it would be read at some point, like, Uncle Yankee from Toronto says, I wish I could have been there, And it was like a nice thing, and it was like the old way of doing that. So yeah, so things that have an emotional aspect would have that kind of a connection. Yeah, definitively. Okay, so let's now summarize. I think what we've learned today was a shocking thing. That in the olden days, in the Gemara, it was not necessarily normative universally for firstborns to fast on Erev Pesach. And if you're going to tell me, wait, so why now does everybody fast on Erev Pesach? The true answer to that is nobody fasts nowadays Erev Pesach either. They just all do the siyum loophole. So no one's ever fasting. They didn't fast back then. They don't fast now either. Just now, they go through the whole siyum thing to not fast. You understand? The custom itself is never a strong custom. Of course, Masechet Sofrim says to do it, but Masechet Sofrim also has a 3-day fast for Taanit Esther that people don't really do. Okay, but again, the Shulchan Aruch mentioned it, So therefore it is serious and we have to take it somewhat seriously. But we saw that the ways to get out of it are give tzedakah. And where could you give tzedakah? At home. And we even saw that according to Rav Henkin, giving tzedakah could be better than attending a siyum, which Rav Henkin felt was sort of like a semi-joke. We also said that Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says you can participate by phone. So then certainly you can participate by Zoom. So, I think this works. So now for what are we going to do this year? What are we going to do this year is you either hear a siyum over the phone or over Zoom if you want. I'm sure every shul is going to, make a big deal about that, and that'll be a lot of fun. Or you can just give tzedakah at home, and that's okay too. But now I'll tell you one last story. I happen to be a firstborn myself. I don't know if you know that about me. That's a personal detail that I'm sharing over here. Oh, does a siyum need a minyan online? That is actually hilarious, Jackie. Now, the fact is, Jackie, does a siyum ever need a minyan? Jackie, get back in the frame. Jackie, does a siyum ever need a minyan? Does a siyum ever need a minyan? The answer is no. You only need a minyan at the siyum in order to say Kaddish. But the siyum itself, like I finished Hadran, and you say that Hadran, you can be with 9 men or 1,005 women or whatever. You don't need a minyan, and that's fine. Lizzie, did you make a siyum when you finished Tanakh? Lizzie, did you make a siyum? You did? I can't. You're frozen over there. I don't know. But women.
I didn't.
I don't know. Did you make a siyum ever when you finished Tanakh?
No.
Oh,
no.
you didn't?
No,
I
didn't. I told you I wasn't gonna.
Maybe
Okay.
at the wedding, at the Kala's Tish.
At the college dish. Okay.
Kala's Tish. Right around when you signed the prenup, you'll make a siyum.
I'll make a small
Okay.
little spoon. Okay.
Okay, good. So the thing is, you don't need a minyan, or you only need a minyan to do the Kaddish part. And if you don't do the Kaddish part, it's still a street legal siyum. Women don't count. Shmuel Dicko, women do count, but not for a minyan, okay? They count so much that they're just beyond even a minyan. I think that's, as they say, Shasani Kirtsono. They're so special. Okay, now let us say like this. So, now I was going to tell you a story. So I'm a Bechor. Now, it turns out that I'm a Bechor, but my mother is a Bat Kohen, so I didn't need a pidyon. Also, I was born in a C-section. I don't know if you can see in the video over here, I have a scar. Somewhere over here, I have a scar from when I was born in a C-section. The doctor cut too deep and cut my head when I was... See, that's how I came into this world, a world of suffering. I was cut right off the bat. My gosh, yeah? So that's why I didn't have to do any of that pidyon business. However, I am a Bechor, and I fast. Also, as my wife will attest, I am an Istanis, and if I eat during the day, I can't really eat at night. So I'm not a big eater on Erev Pesach in general. But I will say that it happened one year that I was not able to attend a siyum because my wife's grandfather passed away, and the funeral, he was one of the settlers of Meron, where Rav Shimon Bar Yochai is buried. And I don't know if you've ever been to Kever Rashbi, but if you go a little bit further up, the local Meron cemetery is there. That's where he's buried. And we had to go. And it was on Erev Pesach. And we had to leave very early. And I left before any siyum and I fasted. So it's not the worst thing in the world to fast. I mean, whatever. You could fast too if you want. But again, we now know that. Please cough into your elbow. Thank you, Tsuri. Yes. All right. As you requested. And now the other elbow, just to keep the corona equal. Okay, but again, you now know that really, if you want, just give tzedakah. Even every year, give tzedakah too. But if you want, you could participate over the phone, do whatever you want. All right, that was good. If you want to stick around and just schmooze a little bit, you can. Or you could sign off. But if you want to stick around and schmooze, if anyone's going stir crazy out there or whatever, you could turn off your mutes and just say hello or do whatever you want. Lots of people need tzedakah with their work. That's true. Work is getting closed. I don't know what's going on here? Like, I don't know how things are going to continue with this. And I think tzedakah is a better option. Yeah, for sure. You know what, Menucha? It's certainly a better option than having a siyum and giving people that nasty Pesach cake. You know, that's what they give at the siyums. You know, those like, because you can't have matzah. They give those potato-made cakes, and you're like, does anybody really need this at all? Honestly, nobody needs it. Nobody needs it. All right. So I hope you enjoyed. And I'm sorry I couldn't put a sheet together. You know, I was just looking stuff up in the morning and then, you know, just chilling for a while. But all right. So is everybody doing okay? Let's give a thumbs up. Everyone's doing all right? Yeah.
Oh, this is a killer.
It's a killer? Shmuel, it's a killer what? Being on lockdown your whole life?
Yes.
Yes? Oh my gosh.
What am I supposed to do? I can't leave.
You can't leave your house? Could you leave your room at least?
Yeah, I can leave the room.
All right, great. Well, I don't know, Dickel, listen, how's your hair doing? Did your hair start growing back in?
No, not even.
No, now that your hair is, no. I see you're still wearing that hoodie, but you really have that whole like Eminem white supremacist look going on. It looks good.
It's all Srilly's fault. He's the one who shaved it.
You know, listen, speaking of giving haircuts, you know, I'm a barber in Neve Daniel. And
Wait,
all
really?
these people were calling me up. Yeah, and they want haircuts. And I'm like, yeah, I'll give haircuts. I can make money that way. But then my wife says, you got to check with a local doctor. And I asked the doctor who's in charge of Terem, and he says that I shouldn't give haircuts to people during the coronas because it's a non-essential hygiene, personal contact treatment, you know, and you're not supposed to do it. So I don't know. People's hair is just going to grow long, but everyone's like sitting around. They think I might as well get a haircut, but I'm like, no, I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Rob, I heard Sammy needs a haircut.
Sammy needs a haircut.
My mom said I need one.
Your mom says, well, tell her it's usher during Corona. All right. Especially the payas. Especially the payas. All right, everybody.
Wait, Rob, I'll show you the funniest thing.
What? Tell me something. I keep coughing into my hand. What?
Look what I found.
What is it? What, Dickel beer? What is that?
Bro, whiskey.
Nice. Dickel whiskey? Good for you. Good for you.
Someone gave it to my mom for Rosh Hashanah. It's like the funniest thing in the world.
That is nice. You could use it to sterilize the door handles of your house. All right. Now, tomorrow I can't give the shiur at this time because I have to teach at Midreshet Moriah, and they're making me do all the classes online. But hopefully Thursday, I'll come back with another 4 o'clock class.
So why can't we just have a joint shiur like now?
You know what, Dickel? I'll invite you if you want.
I'm good.
Okay? You and the mid-roll gals, okay?
Only
Dickel?
if Sammy comes.
This way, Dickel, you could get your credits for Stern, okay? So you'll be fine. Okay, but
Did you get my video?
What? Hey, Menashe, if you have
Did you get my video, Reverone?
I got your video. It's very nice shtick. Was that person supposed to be imitating me, though? Was that the way I talk?
Definitively.
Did the voiceover. It was
that was supposed to be me in the voiceover?
Yeah, she didn't do such a good job. I'm joking.
I don't know. I sound like someone from the Dukes of Hazzard over there, but okay. All right, if that's how I sound. Listen, if you have anything that you would like a shiur on, then please write to me on the WhatsApp or whatever you want and tell me, and I'll try to come up with a shiur.
Wait, Rav, can you just say how to Weiss?
People asked me about this, so I decided to write about it. But, you know, whatever you want, you just tell me.
Rav,
right?
can I get a shout-out before you
Yeah, can you give Weiss a shout-out?
Oh, Daniel Weiss? Yes.
Oh,
Daniel Weiss, I appreciate.
Who's that nice man?
He even does chesed. I think he's part of Showstoppers.
Are you trying to grow a mustache? What happened over there?
It's almost the end of shiur. I need to grow out my mustache.
It's almost the end. Good for you. All right. Thank you, everybody. And I hope this is good. And it's nice to see you all. And be good. If you want to write to me, you could just send me on WhatsApp. And also, I invited all of you because I have your WhatsApps. If you want to pass this on to other people, you can too. All right. I will see you later, everybody. Good luck with the corona and be good.
Amen.
Bye-bye.
You be good too, Ruff. You be good.
I'm trying. Holding on, man. Holding on.
Hey,
Bye.
Wait,
Everyone
Daniel.
Yeah, what's up, bro?
Just add Erica for really real quick.
I don't have her number.
Wait, is it just us left?
Yeah, see, people are leaving now. It's good. It's just going to be us.
Wait,
Rav, thank you very much.
Oh, you're
Bro,
welcome. You're
imagine
welcome,
if you do
Josh.
last
Thank you
one.
for your question.
Whoa.
Well,
Bro,
ask
did
the
you-
hardcore
Ask
crew.
Rosner. He went to high school with her. He probably has her number.
All righty.
Rav, did you get the waiting room deal dealt with?
Yeah. My son did something to it. I don't know what
Yeah,
he
I
did,
sent
but-
him it.
Oh, you sent it to Natano?
I sent it to your wife first.
Oh, you're an angel, Chai. You're so sweet. Thank you, Chai, very much. Thank you.
That's
And
all I
sure
do
they'll
now
want
anyway.
to ask you about
Guy
tech
sounds
support.
like Carm.
Okay. Oh, my Carm wasn't in this year. Menucha, how are you doing, by the way?
Thanks for asking. I'm doing really great. Thank God.
Wait, are you done with school yet? Did you finish
No.
school?
I'm student teaching right now.
Where?
I'm student teaching at Yeshiva at Noam. So it's
Oh.
interesting because we have to like change to online.
So you're doing
But-
this online jazz too?
Yeah,
Messed
online
up, man.
learning.
It's messed up. I think it's messed up. And it doesn't feel normal to me at all. It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
Crazy. I mean, the only good thing is that I get to see all you old school people again, like
Oh.
Orel and Menucha, Josh Levy, you know, Pessin Pessin I see actually once in a while. But Jackie, you know, back from Africa, good for you. You know, Jackie, I think ultimately it might have been safer to stay in Africa, you know, all things considered. They don't got so much corona over there in Africa.
No, now they have the locusts over there.
Now they have locusts. Everyone
Honestly.
has their own plague. Everyone has different plagues going on, man. Listen, wait, Bitterman, are you still there, man? I got it. Where's I mean, he's still on, but it's a blank screen. I don't know. All right. I will see you all later. Okay.
Bless you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
All
you.
right, you're welcome. Bye. I'll try to figure out how to close this thing. End meeting.
I'm gonna
for
watch because it's
all.
funny.